Okay, working on a ZT420 here. Now this is essentially the same unit as a ZT410, but the printer is wider, so it can handle up to a 6-inch wide label. This printer has a big problem with the media or the label sensor being covered with label material. So what I had to do was dismantle the media sensor assembly here, which really didn't require the removal of too many parts. There's a couple of pieces here that hold this onto this shaft. So this shaft unfortunately requires the motor to be removed. Well, actually on this model you don't need to remove the motor, but you can just loosen this. These two set screws are what was being held, the assembly was being held on with that and that C-clip and that bearing. And then I was able to slide this whole assembly off, revealing the lower half of the label sensor area. And as you can see, there was some label material stuck to this sensor, jammed in there. So this is going to give me an ability to really get in there and get that cleaned out, get the printer operating so this area right here is where the label would travel through, and the printer is attempting to see the gaps between the label material. So if we hold up a label, that sensor is trying to look through and see that gap, change in transmissive sensing, right? So if it's completely filled with label material in that area, it's not going to be able to sense the gap. So I did have to trace these two wires back to the motherboard and disconnect them off the motherboard. Usually Zebra's smart enough that these will only go back on in one place. So we can put those back on once we get this cleaned up. But so disassembly of the media sensor, or you could call it the label sensor for a ZT420, which is the same thing as a ZT410. So that's how you get at the inside of this thing. Unfortunately, that is pretty involved. You can sometimes run like a paper towel through that area with some alcohol on it to try and free up this material that might be in the sensor area. But this was so stuck in there that I wanted to make sure it really got cleaned out. So anyway, that's sort of an advanced procedure for the label sensor for a ZT610. Thanks.